Have you ever been arrested in Lithuania?
No, I haven't. No, I made several illegal like graffitis, but I'm lucky enough. I didn't get caught, so.
You're a lucky artist, lucky poet.
Yeah, but I'm not like a really hardcore graffitist. I have done just several graffitis and not legal, and I made like several legal walls too. So it's not my main like artist thing is doing.
It's a nice way to define your own work, you know, my legal work, my illegal work. That's a really nice series of categories to put your work into, Dovilė.
Yeah, I think that a lot of artists can say this about their works, which are like working in public spaces, because a lot of artists do legal and not very legal things and on walls and on other surfaces, you know.
I don't think many poets can say that. Poetry is terribly legal.
Yeah, poetry is legal, and I don't think maybe you can violate some rights if you're doing some kind of like poetic performances and not places, not that places in which you used to do. You like, I don't know, can go to the church or some institutes, or you know, like do some interventions with your poetry.
I don't think there's sorry.
I just say that not really a lot of people do that in Lithuania. I don't know this.
Yeah, I think England, I can only think it would be because of private property. I don't think it would be religion in England. It would be to do with money and the law, you know? That's the only way to make a live poetry performance illegal, would be to trespass. I think you could do anything in a church in England and people wouldn't mind. They'd be bored.
Yeah, I think maybe to do some things in churches, it's quite banally, like in these times, it's like shocking. In Lithuania, you can shock people in church, but I don't like really like that.
I agree. It's banal. It's low-hanging fruit. It's something from the past century, I think. But I really liked your mural, your wall art, you know, on your website. It's very, very beautiful. I wondered, does it ever cross over into your poetry? Do you ever think about doing street poetry or inscribing poetry onto surfaces that aren't a book or aren't a screen?
Yeah, so not really, because this, but in some way you can say that, because that graffitis which I made, it was like some, not a poetry lines, but some phrases which you can use in poetry. And it wasn't in that graffiti aesthetics, like, but it was written with markers and with aerosolic on trafarets, but in a simple way. And so, like, I use words in my art visual. I use sometimes phrases like poetic poetic, not analysis, but like names, titles, and in poetry I sometimes write about art, about drawing, about the processes of studying art, about visual arts, and interactions with them and works of another artists too. Like I have a poem about Mona Lisa, but it's like a little bit with fantasy interactions, like magical realism. It's not like about, but it's included in that poem. But it's just in Lithuania. So
Do you see the two as really separate? Because it seems to me there's a lot of interesting work happening now across Europe, which is visual poetry, you know, asemic writing, concrete poetry, illustrative poetry. To me, if I saw a wall mural that was an image with poetry in it, I would see it as much as a poem as an artwork. So you do both, you know, you write poems utilizing language, and then you also do a lot of visual art practice. Do you think they're two separate things, or do they synthesize in your work?
I think they synthesize too. They are separate, but in a ways they synthesize, because like I'm writing graphic poems too, like visual poetry too. I have some of them, and so I think and I made like the latest work I made was with one graphic poem of mine. I just done it in the gallery with a chalk, which was buried in the same gallery with another artist, and that was some kind of interaction. But just I wanted to see this graphic poem, which used to be published on a page or like in the computer screen on a wall, and to see if it like fits, if it's okay, if I could do that again, or maybe I have to change something. So yeah, they are interacting, but not always, I would say. And sometimes like the image can be, you can like, I don't know, a lot of painting, not mine, but like other, you can say that it is like poetry in the painting, and the painter should be also a poet, not like write a poet, but like he should see some poetics in the objects, in the arrangements of reality, and so I can see a lot of these things like in Lithuanian painters and paintings too. Of course, it's not necessary, because there are a lot of ways to paint. It's conceptual and realistic, and could be very rationalistic. So, but in my paintings, there is some kind of poetic element, I think, too.
I agree with you. I think a lot of the teaching I do in England is teaching text artists and artists who work with language to poets, and then teaching poets to artists who work in a different field. I think there's massive profit in understanding.
Yeah, I think that it should be Lithuania too, because the understanding of another language, like of painting language, of visual language, and understanding of text, of literature, like this transgression, like it gives the artist and the writer a lot of benefits, like in their style and the, I don't know, view of life, and especially in its taste, I think.
Yeah. So you think that's happened to you? Do you think your art education have changed your poetry? Because you studied art, right? You didn't study poetry, is that right?
No, I didn't study literature and poetry too. There is no poetry studies, I think, in Lithuania.
No, no literature studies at all.
No, literature there is, of course, but especially like poetry, like there is. I think that there is not separate poetry studies, and well, I don't know if I could say that it's changed my perspective, because like I just study art and I don't know, like there was no change, I think. Like I studied art and I was interested in poetry and just started to write, and I don't know how it would be if I would if I was studied like literature. I don't
Different,
know.
I
Yeah, I
think.
think it would be different. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be so brave to start to write.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think that most people who do study literature or creative writing definitely have a different professional approach because the two different worlds have very different professional traditions, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So I
I
don't know
think
if that's affected you in the way that you approach your art or your poetry because they're really, really different worlds to operate in.
yeah, I think that of course it is, of course that is different kind.
Yeah. Were you writing poetry then before you studied art when you were young? How did you start?
Uh, mm, well, I was quite good in Lithuanian language, like at school, at the lessons, and I was writing quite good, like these essays, and sometimes I wrote poetry, but rarely. I wasn't so interested in it, and when I had to choose what I want to study, I was choosing between the art and between the literature. Like I wanted to study that too, but at the first place, I wanted to study art. So I wrote that in the first place, and I got lucky, and I started studying arts. And
Why did you choose art?
well, I was from the young days. I started drawing. I like I gone to the art school, like this undergraduate art school, and I just I don't know. I liked the most of the things at school and at the art school. Like I like that visual expression, communication. I wanted to be like the artist, follow my dreams, and that's why I chose the art academy. But so I didn't end it about how I started to write, so I don't know if I
Yeah,
should do.
please tell me. Yeah, I'd be interested to know how you started.
So um, so when I started to studying art, I didn't write much, like I wrote annotations of paintings, of concepts, and helped my colleagues to write it too, because I've kind of had that ability to write. And sometimes I would go to the poetry readings and then to some kind of club. I went in the other university, but that was a long time ago, and quite short, like literature club. But then I stopped, and I just like didn't give permission for me to write, because like I was not from literature. I didn't know that like I can, I'm not professional, and blah blah. And then when I started, just I saw the competition of the first book of arranged by Lithuanians Writing Union, and then I thought maybe I will try to participate in that contest. And for me it was I saw this concourse about till the deadline. It was left maybe 2 or months till the end of the applications. Was left not much time, and I accepted this as a challenge. I started like I gave permission to write for myself, and I like wrote that poems in that time, and do that application. But at the first time I wasn't the winner, of course. And then after that like I started to go to read at some queer readings, because I had friends which are organizing them, and I'm one of them. And then in the second year I like changed my book. I thought about the concept that it would be not just poems, but like a book with structure. And then when I got it in the second time, like I think that I was lucky, you know, because then I won and got chance to publish my book. But before, like I wasn't published at anywhere. I didn't send my poems in the cultural press or something like that, because I was quite afraid, and I thought, well, I will go to that concourse. It is anonymous, so nobody will know about this, about that I like writing, and if I will not win, so nobody will know, and if I win, that would be very awesome. So it started like that, and like when I published that book, it's like then started another like interactions with other poets, events, and it's happening till now.
Do you think there's a reason beyond just the competition coming up? Like, do you feel if there's a reason why you write poetry? And this connects also to me asking you what you think your poetry is about, you know. Do you think there's something deeper, like a possession that you have about what poetry is? Because most people don't do two art forms. Most people aren't artists or poets at all. Like, away from that competition, that opportunity, do you feel that there's deeper reasons for you actually writing poetry?
Yeah, of course. That competition was like some kind of like thing that I can let myself to express myself and to write and to, because I wanted to try another, at first I wanted to try another form of expression, like from visual go to the verbal expression, and to see what are the differences and similarities between this these two. And like I always was attracted with the text, and like I said that I was in the school, and like I felt somehow deeply that I could write it interesting for me to, and I should let myself write in this form, and maybe I have what to say, and maybe I had naive hope that and rebellious hope that I can say something new and in sometimes in different form, and that I going from the visual field, so I will be some kind of different, and and that's how it was, and that was rebellious too, because sometimes when I go to these poetry readings, I really didn't like the people. I don't know, the poetry, and I thought, well, they're reading and I don't like it. I think that I could do better.
What didn't you
So
like about it? What didn't you like?
it was all time ago, so I don't know, till now there's like some poetry which, well, I think that most of the poets not really like all the poets and poems which are read in some kind of poetry events, especially if there are a lot of poets who are reading. So I don't know, for me it was kind of arrogant. I feel the arrogancy among these people. Maybe it was just my feeling, because like I was young and didn't know knew the people. So that, but that like that approach, I think it turned out in a good way, because I just started not to be scared of writing, and to show my writings, and also to read other people to more, not just that occasionally, and to get to know like more deep about what is going in the Lithuanian literature field.
Yeah, I think it's admirably honest to say that you saw them and thought you could do better. I like that. I think I felt the same, to be honest.
Yeah.
You started writing poems because you wanted to win a competition and because you saw bad people. I think you should be celebrated for your honesty, Dovilė. You're going to win that competition. You're going to be the best poet. I think,
Well,
why not?
I want to say that I'm not like I thought that I could be the best, but really when I started to read, like really other people, I started to feel that there are some really good poets, and I'm not like better to them, and I'm not like competing really.
That's a
But
relief. Got to be in it to win it, Dovilė. You know what I mean? If you're going to play, you might as well win. That's what poetry's all about, isn't it? Being number one. So who did you read? Who influenced you? Who did you like? Are there people who influenced you in Lithuania or like outside of Lithuania? What were your influences once you realized you couldn't be the best poet?
I don't really like this talk about the best poet,
Oh, I'm
the
only joking.
second best poet. It was kind of approach maybe a little bit like rebellious form of my thinking, and maybe it's not like really good to think like that. I don't know.
I don't think it's bad. I mean, I had the experience of watching some people read and thinking permission, you know, permissiveness. I saw them and I thought I can do that. I wasn't even that interested in poetry, to be honest. So I like how honest you're being about it and not overcooking it, because people say, oh, poetry, it changed my life. For me, it changed my life, but in a creative, professional way, in a personal way. So I saw some people and I thought, oh, there's something in that. But then I saw other people and I thought, is that it? Is that it? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So I understand you're being subtle. You're very generous to also do the whole interview in English. So thank you so much. I think your meaning is very clear. I'm only joking about being the number one. Dovilė is the number one poet in the world. No, I understand. But when you were reading people, then were there people who really you thought, oh my God, this is something I can play with here? There was influences on you. Who were they?
So I don't know. I should say the names of that people.
Only if you want to. You don't have to. You can describe their appearance. No, you can say that. No, you can say their names for sure. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I don't. I have. Well, I'm quite, I don't know if I should say their names or I shouldn't say their names, because then they will be like some kind of prioritized and.
Yeah. Are there any poets who influenced you who are dead? So then they won't worry.
Yeah, of course there is, but I think they known by everybody. It's the dead poets who influence me. It's like more international.
Like who? From America? From France? From Germany?
Well, from America, mostly like I like Ginsberg. I like, of course, Bukowski. Like this, the most famous poets from America. Not, of course, the most, but but there was a lot of translations in Lithuania of them, and I really like to. I don't know. Maybe I should say the names. Like for me, the poets which are have influence on me are also became my friends, some of them, or occasional meetings. So I really like Ramonė Brunzaitė poetry, maybe you know, Giedrė Kozlauskaitė, we was reading together, Nojus Saulytis. So
Your contemporaries influenced you?
Yeah, but I like Parulskis too, like it's older and from older generation. Nastaravičius, Tolaikytė also, I really like her new book. So like this, I don't know, maybe for me it's the most interesting to read the poems of people which are around me, and somehow when I read some poems, so these people came around me, like, I don't know, which is first, so you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I think I feel the same a lot of the time. I read people in a community more closely than people who are dead or famous. Do you feel like you're part of a community in Vilnius of poets?
Yes, I could say so. Like because this community is not like really how to say that word. I will check that. It's not like it is like in community there are more like more little communities. Like in this community, people have different tastes. There is some feminine poetry, some older people. Oh, I really should not say this because I don't mean it. Like the young, the old, they are not so excluded from one another. But there are some groups which prefer different poems and they have different tastes in this Lithuanian poetry community. So I think I could say that I'm one of the smaller groups of community, and they are open. They like, I think they're changing, they transgressing to one another. But I don't know if I don't know, like, you know, if I really care to be in that community. Maybe it is important for me, but I don't know really how much it is important for me. I just like to, I don't know, I like to meet people and to communicate with them because when there are similar hobbies and similar tastes and similar things that you care about, then it is like really good to spend the time together and to be in some kinds of events. So so
I think that's what most poetry communities are. And then people pretend that they're something else sometimes. I mean, not always, but I think a lot of poetry communities are a group of friends who share an interest, and then people afterwards read more into that. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. Do you have some of your poems that you could maybe read? It would be nice to hear some of your work.
yeah, I have, but they are like experiment. Their translation is not professional, as I say. Like my friend wanted to try to translate some of them too. Like I have, so just quite experimental. Maybe it could be better this translation, but I could read.
I would like that. I think it's better to have an experimental translation when it's a world premiere.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so I should start, yeah?
Please read away.
Okay. Web days. We used to meet at various points of interest of this town to play chess. Still warm, fresh milk of a meeting draw our infantry glance and movements. With a subtle politeness, my adversary used to ask the whole worker about kinds of liquids and other materials that are present. Without a sweet and calm and relaxed, seemingly unburdened by time and the inevitability of choice, he played like that. We met at one almost abandoned portal that displays how many kilometers are between its residents. Only a river separated us that we had plans to swim across, but we simply used bridges and streets to meet. Later, he began to remind less and less about himself, kept flying to different countries by big planes like a bishop across the board. He stopped the commands to move the pieces. What distance would show up in a messy abandoned portal now of a closed board of the chess box of the king? I stayed here. He used to go to work. I stayed here by the checkered page of a notebook to push the pieces of letters. And the second way is Blue Whale's Heart, and it's about love. It's about the love which ended, but still keeping in our bodies some kind of form which we want to bury. So, Blue Whale's Heart. Radioactive nuclear waste beaming, buried deep down underground. Blue whale's heart pumping the blood in the Pacific Ocean ground. Nuclear waste will not reach its arteries. Blue whale's heart, 1001 night. So that's it of my English translations.
They didn't sound like they were experimental at all. They were beautifully read. It was such an intimate thing to see you lean into the camera and hear these very eloquent poems, Dovilė. I thought they were beautifully done by your friend. Give your friend a chocolate bar.
Okay. Okay, I will give it.
It was so nice to talk with you. Thank you for allowing the world into your room studio, and thank you for sharing with me your time and the story of how you became a poet artist.
So thank you that you invited me. It was kind of unexpected thing because, as I said, I don't have like much translations. So it was lovely that you invited me to talk.
Well, I remember your reading from 1 year ago in Vilnius with Deirdre, and I liked it very much, and it was nice to meet you then. So I'm always on the hunt to get to know interesting poets like yourself. So it was a pleasure.
Okay, thanks.
I hope we meet again.
Meet you. Yeah, I
Vilnius
think.
or London.
Yeah, to London I would like to meet.
I'll invite you to London and we'll get you arrested.
Yeah, okay, that sounds like a plan.
It's a promise. Bye.
Okay, bye then.
Thank you.